Scaling your law firm doesn't have to be difficult. It's all about mastering a few key strategies, systems, and mindsets. Welcome to the Scalable Law Podcast, where we talk about how you can increase profit in your pocket and time in your calendar. My name is Carolee Fontanelli, and I have successfully scaled my firm so that it doesn't solely rely on me. Now I love teaching other law firm owners how to do the same. Let's transform your business starting now.
Welcome to the Scalable Law Podcast. I am your host, Carolee, and I hope that you are very well no matter where you are tuning in from. I would love to hear from you. Just scroll down, you can leave a review, let me know where you are tuning in from. I can see on the stats that there are people from all over the world, which is super exciting. And it doesn't matter where you live or where you're running your law firm from. Running a law firm is the same all around the world. The business component does not change. So we can help you out at Scalable Law, whether you are located in Canada, US, the UK, New Zealand, or Australia. We have clients in all of those places, which is so awesome. So I hope that you are well. In Queensland, Australia, where I'm located, it is winter. It's a mild winter. I wouldn't say that it's too difficult to get through the winter here. But I know that in other parts of the world where we've got clients, say in Canada, it is summer. So no matter where you're tuning in from, I hope that you are enjoying your current weather, because I certainly am. So today I want to share something with you that I haven't really spoken about publicly, and I definitely haven't spoken about on my podcast. 1 year ago, on the 24th of June, I sold my law firm. Crazy, hey? I cannot believe a whole year has gone by. I ran that business for 17 years all up, and 12 months ago, I sold it. I hadn't made a big announcement about it, partly because I've been heads down building Scalable Law, partly because it's strange to put into words, and the other part of it is that I really wanted to give the new owner of the firm some leeway where it wasn't too obvious that I had stepped out, because I really want the business to be a great investment for them. Selling a business that you've built from scratch is really exciting and terrifying, almost in equal measure. I think that the combination is worth talking about honestly, rather than wrapping it up in a tidy success story, because there's definitely mixed emotions when you sell a business that you've been in for so long and it's been your baby, which I'm sure that you can understand because you're probably running your own law firm as you're tuning in. So that's what today's episode is about. It's not a framework, it's not a strategy, it's just the real story of what it was like to sell my law firm after 17 years. The decision to sell it, the due diligence, the deal that collapsed, the one that worked, and the week that I had to tell my team that it was all happening. So let's get into it. When you've run a law firm for so long, the business becomes part of how you think and also who you are, right? Every system, every relationship, every problem that you've ever solved, it's all on you. You're the one who has stayed for all of that time while you've had clients come and go and you've had team come and go. So deciding to sell isn't really one decision. It's a slow realization that the next chapter in your life is somewhere else. And sometimes you have to let go of something, even if it's really good, in order to make way for something even better in your future. And that's really where I was up to with the firm. So for me, the next chapter was Scalable Law. And I'd already spent years working on Scalable Law with the idea that when I was about to turn 50 and my daughter was about 18, that I would then run only one business. So I would sell my firm and run only Scalable Law. But it didn't quite happen like that. I had spent years inside the operational realities of running a law firm. The staffing pressure, building systems out because they were inconsistent initially, the feeling of being the center of every decision, and at one point I was absolutely at burnout, and working out how to get out of all of that, how to make things run smoother, from setting up automatic client acquisition engines to being the firm of choice where lawyers wanted to come and work, through to getting the firm to operate in a way that it wasn't manual and didn't rely on me. I have been through all of that and done it, and I really built the firm to a place that I was really proud of. I was working about 10 hours a week in the practice. I was making a really decent amount of money, and life was pretty good. However, I had started Scalable Law in the end of 2020, and that business was in its infancy. So I was spending a lot of time in Scalable Law. And every now and then, the firm would require me for something, and all of my attention, maybe for months, would go back into the firm. So there was this broken growth for Scalable Law. I wasn't quite all in because I still had the responsibility of running a law firm. I knew that there was a bigger opportunity for me helping other law firm owners solve their problems at scale, rather than continuing to solve it just for the one firm. But knowing that didn't make the process or the decision any simpler. But I did have a destination in mind. So I had a compass and really what I wanted to achieve in the long term. And around March 2025, the decision was made that I was going to sell my law firm. There are many routes that you can take when you want to sell a law firm. You could sell to someone who is already in the firm, but that comes with risk. And I wasn't actually sure if there was anyone in my firm who would want to buy it or be an equity partner. However, I didn't want an equity partner because I wanted a clean break. And I knew that if I was still in the firm, that things would still come back to me. So that clean break was really something that I was looking for. You could also wait for a buyer or sniff around and see if there was someone in your community who is keen to buy your firm. It could be a competitor, or it could be another firm who wants to expand into your practice area. Again, I didn't have those relationships, and there's risk with having those conversations. One of the things that I knew was really important was that I didn't want to create any instability with my team. Therefore, the sale process needed to be confidential. So I went through a broker. The broker was someone who specializes in selling law firms and knew exactly what they were doing. So with that, you send all the information you've got to your broker or the broker, and they come back with a price that they think it would be worth. Before I knew it, the business was listed for sale, and inquiries started coming in really quickly. The reason being is that a broker has a lot of people sitting in the wings who are looking for law firms to buy. So that is the benefit of going through a broker, because they know a lot of people who are sniffing around looking for different opportunities. Within a week or so it was very, very quick, I had 2 offers on the table. One was better than the other, so of course I went for the offer that was better than the other. As part of the contract, there was a due diligence period, which I think is fairly normal when someone buys a business. But it involved an enormous amount of due diligence. Financials, files, compliance, client records, marketing, staffing structures. Every part of the business gets opened up and examined by someone who at that point is still a stranger to you. And in fact, this particular firm had a competing firm with me in one of the areas. So that was sort of interesting, how it emotionally plays with you when you're giving so much of your secrets, you could say, about your business to someone who is a stranger, and not only a stranger, but a competitor. So this first sale process went through that entire due diligence phase, and then they kept extending again and again and again. And it finally fell through after about 6 weeks. I was completely over it by then, if I'm being completely honest. It was exhausting. There were so many questions, and I felt like some of the questions were really unnecessary. At the end of the day, they didn't really have a reason why it fell through, except that they said my brand was too strong and they wouldn't be able to bring it easily into their own brand. So I guess that their idea was that they were going to, absorb my firm into their firm and just create a larger firm in that practice area. So that was interesting. I'd already made the decision that if they asked for another extension, I wasn't going to give it to them because it was getting beyond crazy. And also, I was starting to get a little bit of cold feet about whether or not I was actually wanting to sell it or not. So that was a very hard moment, not because the work was wasted, but because of what it all represents. You've effectively let someone into the engine room of your business, and then you're left there standing exposed with no buyer. But what made it manageable was that in that very same phone call, the broker said that the second buyer was still waiting in the wings. In fact, the second buyer had let me know through an Instagram message that he was still keen and to let me know if anything fell through. His offer was less initially, but when he came back for the second offer, when the other one fell through, he offered exactly the same. So it was a little bit of a no-brainer, except that I had started getting a little bit of cold feet. So I gave myself the weekend. This all happened on a Friday. So I gave myself the weekend to actually decide, do I want to move ahead with the sale or not? Because here's an opportunity. It's likely going to go through. I just had that feeling. But here's an opportunity to actually pull out if I wanted to. So there was all the feelings of, is this actually the right thing to be doing? Am I ready to sell it, or should I just stay in there a little longer? So the second contract was a completely different experience, and there were two clear reasons why. So the first was that the due diligence had already been done. All of the document prep had been done, the financial transparency and the operational mapping. It was already sitting there in a Google Drive ready to go. So the second time round, it was really just a matter of handing over the links, and all the heavy lifting had been done and was behind me. Secondly, and probably the more important thing, was that this buyer was simply a better fit for the law firm. That made the handover way easier, and this all had nothing to do with the paperwork. It's one thing handing over files and systems. It's another thing entirely to mentally hand over a business that you've run for so long and built up from nothing to someone that you trust will look after it and the people in it properly. That's the part that people underestimate about selling a business. The mental handover and the physical handover are two separate processes, and they don't always happen at the same pace. This buyer was way more relaxed for a start, and also he was in the business of buying up multiple law firms, and he would keep the branding exactly the same. So he wasn't interested in creating one big monster firm. He was happy to keep the Collective Family Law brand as it was, and it to stand alone on its own 2 feet. So he's still running that business separately under the umbrella of all of his other firms. So this particular buyer at the time had 12 other firms. So he was no newbie to buying firms, which was great because he also helped guiding me through the process. He didn't have a lot of stress around anything really, to be frank, which made it really easy. So the hardest part was telling the team. I had been in the sale process for a number of weeks, maybe months, and it's difficult when you feel like you're living a little bit of a lie because you know you're about to be moving on. I suppose it's no different from being an employee when you've decided already to go and get another position somewhere else. But I'd never been in that position. I've always been the one who stayed. So this was definitely the single most nerve-wracking part of the entire process, wasn't the negotiations, it wasn't the due diligence, but it was actually telling the staff and the team at Collective. So as part of the contract with the new buyer, we were only going to give the team 1 week's notice before the sale occurred. 1 week, that's it. So it was a shock to everybody, and I knew it would be. We had our usual team meeting, and we told them in that team meeting. And the new buyer had flown up from Sydney and was here ready to meet the team. That was really difficult for me, and I felt really sad. I felt like I was letting people down, even though I knew logically that it was time for me to move on and focus on scalable law. I think anyone who's led a team will understand what that feeling is like. You can be completely certain about a decision for yourself, and it still might weigh heavily on how it lands for people who have trusted you. That tension doesn't really go away, even though it's the right decision for you. So we did that. The new buyer came in, I think that afternoon, and wandered around meeting all of the staff, spending time with each of them, chatting about their roles and positions. So essentially what happens in a sale is that the contract that you have with your team ends with you on that sale, and then a new contract gets put in place with the new buyer. So they have the opportunity to negotiate different terms. Both parties do, your employees and the new buyer. They have that opportunity there and then. So luckily he managed to negotiate new contracts with all of the staff. It was in June, so it was a really good time in terms of we would do our salary reviews in June anyway. I had done everyone's reviews earlier that month intentionally so that I could then let the new owner know where people's salaries should be at, if I was still in place, what I would have done in terms of pay rises and things like that, and just working it through each of their performances so that it was a really clean handover. So that went really well, that part of it. So it was really interesting. The sale day occurred, I think it was the Monday actually, and I had to do a settlement statement, and part of the settlement statement as well, which people don't really talk about as part of a sale, is that you have to adjust all of the owed sick leave, holiday pay, and any long service leave requirements. So you have to do that on the last day of settlement. So we did all of those adjustments, and I sent through a settlement statement. He rang me, and the sale occurred just like that. From then on, there was not really any need for me to stay in the business. I wasn't contracted to do so. The business was running with systems in place, running super smoothly. There was an operations manager in place who basically ran the business anyway. I hadn't been a lawyer there for a really long time, so I wasn't needed to do any billable work. And really, there was no transition period or earnout or any ongoing involvement by me. I basically packed up my things and took my certificates off the wall, and that was it. 17 years and a few days to just say goodbye. So it was kind of weird. Yeah, don't pretend that that wasn't strange, but it was clean, which was awesome. And there's something to be said for a sale that doesn't drag the owner through months of lingering involvement after the decision has already been made. It let me move forward immediately with full clarity. And I'd already had a trip planned to Mexico and America, leaving within a few weeks. So it was awesome because I got to go and do that. And to be honest, the feeling of not owning the business didn't really sink in for a really long time, because my daily involvement in the firm hadn't been really intense for a long time. So, but yeah, it was quite weird. So in the last 12 months since then, I've been able to give my 100% focus to scalable law and helping other law firm owners scale their law firms more than I ever have before. And it's been actually amazing. I really, really love this business and helping other law firms do what I did in mine. I love helping them build a firm, grow a team, and create a firm that really runs on automate without them. Scalable Law in the last 12 months has doubled, more than doubled, I think tripled since I sold the practice, because I've been able to put my full attention into my clients in Scalable Law. And what I give law firm owners is not just theory, it's my lived experience, helping them to also position their firms in a place that maybe one day they might want to sell. It makes me really sad with a lot of law firms that I've witnessed around where they end up just closing them at retirement and don't actually have a sellable asset. So it is really important that you do start thinking about your law firm as a sellable asset and start creating the systems and processes in place and removing yourself from it so that you can have a great sale and exit just like I did. So anyway, that is the story of how I sold my law firm a year ago. It's been a bit of a journey, but super fun. I have zero regrets in selling my firm. It's been really awesome to be able to step right into Scalable Law in an extra way that I wasn't able to before. If you've got any questions about selling a firm or thinking about what does it look like, I might want to sell my firm in 10 years time from now or 5 years time from now. So if you are thinking that, you need to start planning now. I did start planning the sale of my firm more than 5 years ago. So it wasn't just an overnight thing. It sounded like it when I told you the story in the beginning, but it is something that I have worked on for a long time. So the systems will really help you to do that, working your way out of the firm and creating a business that's really profitable. Those are the things that are going to make it really sell-worthy. So if you want help with that, then I'm here. You can book a strategy call with us. The details of that is in the show notes, or you can head over to scalablelaw.com and book a call there. Well, thanks for listening. And if you have any questions for me about the sale, then feel free to message me on Instagram, LinkedIn, or email. Bye for now.
Thank you for listening to the Scalable Law podcast, brought to you by the Scalable Business Lounge. If you would love to know how you can get more clients without relying on referrals, head over to scalablelaw.com to watch my free masterclass. Until next time, you have got this.